Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show podcast, place about games, friends, and getting better. We got a big episode with a big crew. I'm Ben Hansen. This is my voice. I'll be using it throughout the rest of the episode. I'm joined by one, Sarah Pozorski.
Hello.
Also
I'm never second. I'm so excited this time.
Yeah, I like to shake it up here. We're also joined by Jacob Geller.
Hello, I'm opening a White Claw because it's 7 p.m. in North Carolina.
Wildcats. We're also joined by community manager Haley McLean.
Hello, I don't have a fun drink. Sorry.
That's fine. Just pretend. Just make slurping noises. You'll be set. Also joined by Janet
water.
Garcia. Good Lord.
Hello.
Hello. Big episode here today, everybody, because we're talking about the Mortal Kombat reboot. Actually, sorry. We're recording this before we have seen that presentation, so we know that it seems like it's going to be a reboot. I'm very excited about it.
If we had seen it, it's all we would want to talk about.
Man.
Absolutely.
Dude, Jacob. Hey, bros. I made fun of Mortal Kombat for a long time in my life, and then I visited NetherRealms for a Game Informer trip, and as part of that, I dove deep into Mortal Kombat, the last reboot, and then 10 going into 11. I freaking love Mortal Kombat now. I probably will be doing a reaction stream on MinnMax's YouTube channel for that reveal trailer and all that news. You can check that out on YouTube if you want our hot takes on that. Also, Hot Take Central. Look somewhere else for the big thoughts for Lego 2K Drive. I'm excited to play more of that game after the preview. It's out this Friday, but there's this other game called Zelda out, and it's really tough to peel yourself away from Zelda when you're tight on time to dive into Lego 2K Drive right now. But I do want to play more of that open world Lego game, so I think Jeff was checking it out a bit. Haley, I'm glad you're here.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Normally, we're just on party chat together for our bonus podcast, but you seem like a huge Zelda fan. So it's like, hey, we're doing the deepest dive on Zelda right now. That's in the bonus podcast feed if you're a Patreon supporter, but then also up on YouTube where we talked about basically exploring the northwest corner of the map for hours and hours and hours and hours. So that's the core chunk, but it's like, it'd be a shame not to talk about Zelda a little bit on the main podcast here. So I wanted to bring you in, Haley, because how much have you played at this point now?
I think I'm at 40 hours.
Wow.
50 hours.
What?
A work week.
Literally. And I work too. So I'm just playing, as soon as I'm done work, I literally was playing it up until the time we started recording this podcast. I'm having so much fun with it.
That's bizarre. Are you a completionist? You trying to quote unquote mainline it, or what's your strategy here?
I'm just vibing and running around. Something I care about this time that I didn't before was the compendium. I'm weirdly into the compendium this time.
Right?
Are you too? Oh, I every time something new, I'm like, camera, and I shove my camera at it. It's fun.
Yeah, I think it's just it being in the first game. I feel like I kind of probably just forgot that it was really in there. I had a couple photos, but not much. And now I'm like, why make the same mistake twice? I can right the wrongs of the past. I am a little bummed that the photo quality with the camera is really bad.
Yeah.
It is
which
bad.
is odd. It's worse than just screenshotting in the game, which seems like a bizarre choice. But, so what if my pictures of the flowers are low resolution? They're going to be there and everyone will know exactly what a stamina shroom looks like.
Yeah, we'll get the idea for sure.
I don't think I've even I don't think I have the camera yet. I've played 25 hours. Yeah.
They do kind of delay the camera, though. It's weird how they hold off on it, and they're like, you don't know how to use a camera?
It's kind of hidden on where if you don't come across it, you could just miss it forever, I feel like.
How's everybody feeling about this gosh darn game? Let's see, Jacob Geller's giving 2 thumbs up. Haley has 2 thumbs up. Janet, 2 thumbs up, surprising. Sarah, let the record show, was the last to put the thumbs in the air, but they did eventually get there. Sarah, what's your experience with this thing so far?
It really does feel like, looking back on my Breath of the Wild experience, it was just kind of like a play test for what would become Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
To me, because Tears of the Kingdom just takes everything, and you're like, wait, this is way more fun. And the shrines in Breath of the Wild pale in comparison to the shrines in Tears of the Kingdom. Traveling through the overworld is so much more enjoyable with all the options they give you.
Right.
The new locations are just so much more interesting, and it's it feels like I'm engaging in the game, with the game in ways that I hadn't even considered yet.
Right. I
look back to my Breath of the Wild experience and I'm like, what was I doing? I thought that was great.
Yeah, I know. That blew me away. And it's you look at the toolbox and the abilities that you have, and it's they're cool, but you just feel every part of your body and every part of the world in this game is a toy box. It's like, I am curious to see how many people go back to Breath of the Wild after Tears of the Kingdom and what that'll feel like. If it's still a magical experience, I know that's kind of the first time that this new format of Zelda blew our minds, but I do think it'll feel just kind of simple in retrospect.
I was playing Breath of the Wild a bit today, actually, because I wanted to do that and see what it felt like.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I'm getting so used to being exploity, like there's so many ways to like go up or like cheat something to rewind it and hop up that way, whatever. Yeah. I was trying to go up a cliff and I was like, oh, like it just immediately was like, this sucks now, but it used to be revolutionary and like the best way to get around.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't been in the last game. I was so concerned about stamina, and in this game, I'm kind of like don't really care because there's so many like other ways to get places that you don't really need to invest everything in stamina just so you can get from point A to point B.
Right. It was like I had a little bit of an epiphany recently, like my last play session. It was like the first time, I don't know why it took so long to get to these, but I finally found like the rocket Zonai part. And like the first time, just like, I think it's in a shrine where they kind of teach you like, put it on your shield. And it's like, oh, okay, this is changing this entire game. Just that little fusion possibility there. It's ridiculous.
I do kind of wonder if, since I'm assuming we all played Breath of the Wild for a long time, you know, like the thing where if you buy Civ 5 after it's been out for like 5 years and it has like 80 DLCs, and if you were trying to play it for the first time, you'd be like, I don't even know where to start. Like there's so much extra stuff here.
Right.
I kind of wonder if someone didn't play Breath of the Wild, if they would be completely overwhelmed with how much stuff you can do, like the, you know, stamina and cooking and gliding and like all of these stuff that we are super familiar with from Breath of the Wild. Right. You know, if it'd be overwhelming, or if it's just like if everyone would get how cool and open it is immediately.
It's a good
question. I wonder what percentage of people have only played Tears of the Kingdom. I imagine it's pretty small, but yeah, those people are probably confused.
Did you see the sales figures that came out today?
Like 10 million already?
10 million in 3 days.
That's crazy.
Good. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what Scarlet and Violet was for comparison. Do you remember, Janet? Because it was also like a staggering number out of the gate.
I'm not sure, but it was like obscene for how that game.
Yeah, this game works.
Bad.
Oh, hang on. Oh, whoa. We got to take the celebrating back. Scarlet and Violet, also sold 10 million copies in 3 days.
Wow.
So yeah,
I guess that says a lot about society.
Does it? Unfortunately.
Wake up,
we're the problem. Yeah.
Janet, did you marathon Breath of the Wild before jumping right into this?
Yeah, I wanted to beat it. You know, I have to choose my words more carefully here since I can't swear. But a lot of people are like, "You're not going to finish it because you didn't finish it for all these years." And it's like, so what? You can can do it at any time. You know. So I did the last 2 Divine Beasts. Got the Master Sword, got all the memories, killed Ganon, went to sleep, woke up the next day, hung out at GameStop for way too long to get my physical version of Tears of the Kingdom. And I'll tell you this, I was not alone in that community of people who either didn't finish Breath of the Wild, or there was an amazing person who like they were the first one like in the long line to get their like stuff at GameStop, and they got like the collector's edition, the amiibo, and you know like they exited the store and people were like, yeah, like you have your game, you know, it's all me and all the nerds because I am nerd. And then she's like, yeah, like I actually never finished Breath of the Wild. I started it when it first came out and I've been waiting 6 years to finish it. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to kill Ganon and I'm going to play Tears of the Kingdom. And everyone cheered and she drove off in her car. It was awesome.
Kill him! Kill him!
So it's like, yeah, a lot of people, I think, you know, the vastness, but also I think the feeling of not being ready to decide you're done being in that world, because I didn't 100% it. But before I beat it, it's like there's still the fantasy of maybe I could be someone who got more of the juice out of the orange, you know?
You're fine, though.
So yeah, went straight from Breath of the Wild into this seamless experience.
Does it feel seamless? Like, what's the biggest shocker, I guess, for you jumping right from Breath of the Wild into this?
I mean, obviously the change in systems is like the big difference in the game, and as well as like I think just how much world there is. I also didn't watch like the last trailer thing that dropped that everyone was like looking at. So like just having like all the layers of the map, I think is really a lot to take in. But in terms of like this, like the story and just kind of how the world feels and everything and the familiarity of beating it the night before and being like, yeah, there's the castle again, and now it's different looking, you know?
Right.
It felt very, not quite as seamless as 2018 to like Ragnarok, but it kind of felt familiar. Like we're picking up exactly where we left off.
Right.
Calamity Ganon's taken care of, but there's all these questions in the kingdom still, and now we are exploring those questions, and more things are coming up, and now we have a whole new, situation to deal with.
Yeah. I haven't really dove into the depths of the internet to see what people are creating with this so far, but even it's interesting, like in our deepest dive discussion, having like Leo be like, I think I found a couple areas where the game's just kind of broken, and if you use this method over and over again, you can get through it. But that's kind of the thrill of the game, at least for me right now, is just like, it feels like the type of game where it's like, you think you can break it? Good. Are you having fun doing it? Who cares? Like, I'm sure there's going to be some MinnMax strategy that's just locked in, like within 6 months of this thing. But I don't know. Do you all keep your nose to the grindstone? Do you feel like people are already obviously laying out like, oh, okay, just do this and this and this over and over again?
The only thing I've seen is like the several war crimes committed against Koroks.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I have seen
babies.
zero spoilers whatsoever, but I
Right.
have seen like 20 different ways to roast a Korok and like commit like crimes against the Geneva Convention. Like, that's all I've been seeing.
Oh, you mean the final cutscene of the game?
Like, I haven't seen anything.
Link goes to hell. That's what happened.
Jacob, do you have like a biggest surprise from the game so far? Actually getting to play it?
Yeah, I mean, it is so much. So like I played Breath of the Wild on a Wii U. I didn't have a Switch until like 3 years after it
Oh, look at this
released.
guy.
I look.
Wii U.
I know. It was so cool.
The few, the proud.
I think it is incredible that this is, again, as I felt about Breath of the Wild, just like one of the most beautiful games ever made in ways that I almost can't even. I'm just like, why does like standing in a field looking up a hill in this game look so much better than so many of the giant, incredibly expensive, more powerful hardware open world games I've played? And I don't know if I just like know that it's all kind of for real and I can just like walk around that hill and it's just kind of organically happening, like they're not doing it for me. But it's just like playing this on a 4K TV, and it's like, this is the best that like 900p has ever looked. I just kind of can't believe the level of technical achievement. And also in terms of technical achievement, the fact like that this seemingly has one of the most kind of complex physics systems, just in terms of like, not in terms of even all of the possibilities, but just you can put 40 things in a pile and they all just stay in a pile and they don't like vibrate into the stratosphere. Like I just kind of, the magic going on behind the scenes to make things just work, quote unquote, blows my mind, because we've seen so many games not be able to do that.
I know. Maybe we'll get a GDC talk if we're lucky, but like, I feel like there's this industry push of just like everyone else in the industry looking at this and be like, how did they do this? Like, I've seen a couple developers out there be like, I cannot wrap my mind around how something like this is possible, and especially in an era when so many things are busted, so janky out of the gate. I mean, it's going to be interesting looking at like Starfield later this year. Like, of course, that's going to be janky in a way, but it's just so bizarre how solid this thing is on basically Wii U hardware. Like, I know the Switch is a notch above, but I mean, this is some old tech at this point, and the fact that it is stable, and like you said, there's not just like turning a corner and seeing things just like in that Unreal style, just like drop and lock in place. Like, okay, I know that thing just loaded. Like the fact that it feels consistent, even though, yes, there's going to be pop in. Yes, I'm not saying it's a complete technical powerhouse, but for the Switch and just on a physics basis, like, it is wild how stable this thing seems.
And I've seen people saying, which I'm sure is underplaying the challenge required of all this, but just kind of like, imagine if we stopped doing graphics horse racing and instead focused on stuff like this. It's like, I would give up ray tracing in a second. I don't care how reflective things are if you could like have physics that felt like this.
Right. I can rewind any object. Yeah, okay, the water looks nice versus that. Like, okay, it's just a complete slam dunk. Yeah, it's absurd. Haley, do you have a biggest surprise so far?
I guess I'm surprised how I'm kind of playing it exactly how I played Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And it still feels new though. Like I'm doing the exact same thing I did in Breath of the Wild, like ignoring the story largely. Like I didn't really engage with the story for the first 20 something hours. I just was like, oh, shiny, and like ran over there, and then
Right,
12
right.
things happened on the way. And I thought this time around, because I was like Janet, like I put off beating Breath of the Wild as long as I could. Like I just liked exploring and I didn't want it to be done, so I just never finished it, and then that made me feel okay about that game still being a game I'm technically playing. So I was like, oh, I bet this time around I'll do more story right away and get like abilities faster, because then exploring is easier. But I'm not. I'm doing the exact same thing, but yet it feels different somehow. I don't know how they quite mastered that, but they did it really well.
Yeah, I'm still like, I'm not one of those people that had the world of Breath of the Wild like memorized. You know, I played it in 2017 and loved it, but like
The world looks, I don't recognize anything. I'm
really
like,
Good. Okay, me neither.
yeah.
I'm like, should I recognize some of this stuff?
Yeah, other than like the castle, and that's maybe it. I guess if I tried to remember maybe one of the like
It's like there
temple
was
shrine.
a volcano. I remember that
yeah.
there's a volcano in both games,
It's
but
like
that's about it.
At one point, it's like there's lightning. I remember the lightning, but it's oddly so foreign, despite having I think so many of the same general things you could do. Like I could say I'm doing something in Tears of the Kingdom and it could sound like Breath of the Wild, but then when you play it, it just plays totally differently. Like you're still knocking out shrines and investigating things, but
yeah, and it is.
Plus, there's like technically multiple maps now in a way too. So you're extending your gameplay like ×3 now, and also
how are y'all managing your time with that? Because frankly, like I've just been on the regular Earth, and I'm like, should I try to get up there? Like, how do I get up there? Like, I haven't, I've gone underneath a little bit, but I am so almost in a good way overwhelmed by how many directions I can go in, because not only is it all the regular directions, but it's also the verticality and the directions within the verticality. So
that is a bananas thing. I feel like I'm kind of saving it for like, once I get some more Zonai tools and stuff, I'm going to actually focus more on like island to island to island. But for now, I'm just kind of treating it like I want to explore Hyrule. I'm loving so much just getting derailed from my mission and just finding secret upon secret upon secret and just constantly finding new avenues. And then like, if there's some way to get up there, I'll maybe check it out. If I get a new tower, then I'm like, I'll dive around and check out those sky islands that are around that. Or if I see, a big chunk land in front of me, it's like, okay, the game wants me to go up there, so I'll go check it out. But every time I go up there, I just feel like this is going to be an awesome playground. I'm not ready for you yet. Like, that's how good this game is. Like, I'm on the world's greatest playground, and there's like an even bigger one next to me. Like, let me enjoy this slide for a while first before I go hop the fence yonder.
What I like about up top too is they lead you back down below with like X's on the map and stuff too. Like you'll find a map and then it's like, oh, something really cool is in the basement. Like, oh, and then I'm like, I'm going to the basement, and I like run down to go get that, and then that leads me back up to get something else. Like they want you to be constantly cycling between all the different areas.
How is it not annoying to have a game that is this good at pulling you in different directions? I feel like so many other games that would try something like this, it does just feel like pop up like, hey, why don't you go over here? Why don't you try this? Blah, 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 blah. And just to have a game that's just like, you constantly feel like you're in control and you're the one that's like, no, this is a power move from me to go investigate this area, and it's fulfilling because of that.
I think part of it is how much they only give you a little, but hint at a lot, at least for me. Like talking to the NPCs, like this is the most engaged I've been with NPC conversation, I think, in my entire life. Ooh. And it's because it's not always just, like sometimes it is the case of you talk to someone, they're like, I need you to fix the cart that my horse has, or I wish I had a horse. And then they're like, go get the horse, objective. And then you can do it. But a lot of times, like more often than not, it's, you're peeking through a cabin and someone's talking about, this legendary snowboarder basically in the hills, and they don't, I don't have that part of the map. There's not an objective pop. I have no idea when I'm going to even find this, but I'm screenshotting them because I'm like, maybe I'll go to my pictures and kind of reread it. And I think Zelda's always kind of been good at that, even on a smaller scale. Like I went and I'm continuing my Minish Cap playthrough, and a lot of Minish Cap is also like that because it's not traditionally objective based because it's such an old game that it's just like flavor text, and then you have to deduce what that flavor text ends up meaning. Granted, in Minish Cap, I do think it's a lot more limited, so you might hit those walls of frustration more because the only thing to do is that next thing.
Right.
Well, this is an open world. Also, Link's in the sky there too, so I'm like, it's just the same game. It's different.
It's the same director. Yeah, it makes sense, right?
I also feel like it, like it never feels like the game is giving you a checklist because I always feel like I'm ignoring the checklist. You know, it's I'm like, the game wants me to do this, but I'm going to go over here. And then if you talk to the developers, they'd be like, no, we want you to go over there.
Right.
But like, it feels like
It's like, no, you didn't.
I am, it's like ignoring the main quest to do what catches my eye feels good. And I think the intended way of playing is do whatever catches your eye. But like, the fact that they're not, no one ever tells you like, hey, why don't you go do side quests for a while? And you don't need anyone to tell you that because you were just making that decision constantly.
Yeah.
In God of War, they kind of tell you that, to be honest.
Yeah, they're like, should we make our axe stronger before we go fight this guy?
Make sure you go back and get that lady a horse, And this is no shame, I love the side quests actually in that game as well, but I do think it does a really amazing job, to Jacob's point, of kind of hiding that and like making you think you're getting away with something by adventuring, but really the whole game is that adventure.
Right. Sarah, have you made any monstrosities yet?
No, I'm not so much as someone who likes to over-engineer as much as I like to engineer as little as possible and see where I can get with like the absolute bare minimum.
Right, like skateboard.
My laziness has known no bounds in this game. The game wanted me to walk like around this giant crevasse in the sky. And I was like, I don't want to walk that way. So I literally spent 10 minutes chopping down trees to make a mega log bridge so I could just walk directly across without having to like detour around.
Right.
So I'm learning a lot about myself through playing this game.
It's good.
Sled and a hot air balloon. That's all you need. 2 pieces. Sled, hot air balloon, you hold a torch. That's it.
You
And
go.
you could run for president on that platform for all of America, Jacob Geller, by the way.
Everyone gets a chicken in every pot, and a sled and a hot air balloon.
Haley, any final thoughts that we haven't hit that you're dying to express from your 3,000 hours with this game?
3,000 hours. The only thing that's not in it that I'm upset isn't in it is when you whistle for your horse and it tells you, oh, the horse is too far away to hear you. Because that was in Breath of the Wild, and as far as I can tell, it's not in that, and that's driving me crazy. Because I'm like, whistle, whistle, and the horse doesn't come, but like nothing's telling me he's not coming, so I'm like waiting, and then he doesn't show up for like 2 minutes.
Maybe the horse keeps missing you, by the time it gets there.
It's like an Uber, and I like trying to flag it down.
I think it's trying to nudge you, like, you don't need the horse anymore. You got cars. Everyone knows cars are better than horses. Horses went extinct for a reason in society, Haley. You got to build that car.
Horses are extinct. Oh, I didn't know that.
It's a common knowledge. Okay, we have a lot more thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom, obviously, but we won't double up too much. But please check out the deepest dive in that bonus podcast feed. It is Leo Vader and Kelsey Lewin and Jeff Marchiafava. And ladies and gentlemen, after all that naysaying, Jeff Marchiafava likes this game a lot. So we got him, folks. So you can check that out in the deepest dive. It's going to be kind of a rotating crew. We're going to have other folks join us. Kyle, who's finished the game and is refusing to stop playing it, he's going to be joining us at a certain point as well. So keep checking out those updates. And their first episode, spoiler free. We talk about kind of the first bigger thing, but like story stuff. We talked about the opening, and really that's about it. So don't worry too much about that. It's mainly just a place to unpack the system. Sarah, you seem skeptical.
Are we just all glossing over that the father and mother of Hylian civilization is a hot goat man and a Hylian woman? That is... I'm never going to get over that. I'm going to die on that hill. You go to the shrine, you do finish it, it's their fucking wedding cake topper. Every time.
They're really... Do you see this?
Do you like
every
this?
time I go there, I'm like, that's mom and dad. Like, that's like the thought I have every single time.
Wait,
I've seen a thing that's like those two, and it's like, hi, Link. We've been looking at you from across the bar, and we really like your vibe.
That's awful. Speaking of inappropriate Tears of the Kingdom thoughts, though, I don't even know where this sentence is gonna go because I don't want to actually say what it is. But my boyfriend did point out. So like, he's like, so Link's hand is that other hand. So like, that has a lot of other implications. She's like, he's right-handed, and it's his right hand.
This is a
Link's
family-friendly podcast.
Oh, is Link left-handed?
Famously.
Yeah, I don't know if they officially made a canonical switch at some point. So all
Except
thoughts
for the
are
Wii
Yeah, so it's all
version of
good.
Twilight Princess.
Except for Skyward Sword.
right. Yeah. I
Okay,
guess
so
that
he's
does get
fine
confusing.
then.
Everybody's fine. So, Sarah, do you like the idea of goat people kissing humans, or you're a nay on
So
that?
into it. It feels
I'm on
like a
board,
Kindle
too.
Unlimited book that I would 100% read.
Wait, Sarah, is it just me or like the goat guy? I'm like, is this not Outer Wilds Echoes of the Eye? Like,
That's what I said. They're literally called the Zonai, and Outer Wilds are called the Nomai.
yeah,
It's literally the same thing.
And they just turn the letter sideways.
I'm
Come
so
on
glad
now.
Nintendo finally played Outer Wilds.
That's what took this game so long to make. All right, Tears of the Kingdom. Check out the Deepest Dive for a lot more discussion on it. Haley, we need to make room for a certain special guest, but we honor thee and we thank thee for joining us on this Hear Ye podcast. Do you have any final thoughts before you bow out of here?
Community looks cool.
Yep. I think we'll
Yeah.
talk more about it. Sweet Haley, thank you for doing a good job in the Discord. And you're on your crusade of giving an emoji reaction to everybody who posts on the Pets channel still?
I have not missed a single pet
Awesome.
in like a month.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Very
Sweet.
dedicated to that.
You want to clap on out of here?
Sounds good. See ya.
Bye. Mark MacDonald, welcome to MinnMax, sir.
Oh, long time, first time, long time.
Yeah, we had John Ricciardi on before. I guess he beat you to it. Sorry. You're supposed to be on during GDC, but you're too busy being cool and partying and all sorts of nonsense.
I was trapped in my hotel room giving demos. It's the very opposite of being cool and finger gunning GDC. I did manage to not get Corona though, which is more than I can say for much everybody else who I know went
Yeah.
to GDC. So
Yeah, if you left your hotel room, you're basically doomed. But thank you for being here, Mark. You have a game that just came out this freaking week.
that's right. It's been referred to as the game to fill the time between playing Tears of the Kingdom. I think
Okay.
most recently was my favorite comment from people, but Humanity for Steam, PS5, PS4, etc. And honestly, it's fine. Like it's a kind of a chill puzzle game. It's kind of meant for that, like to play in little chunks. So like. It's cool. I'm playing Zelda as well. I had to skip your Zelda discussion because I'm so early on in it still, but no harm, no foul. We'll be around after the 160 hours or whatever.
That's right.
whatever
Yeah.
Zelda is as well. No hurry.
Yeah,
no,
humanity.
no shame. And
Humanity will live on forever, no doubt. Let's see, Mark. This is Janet Garcia and Jacob Geller. I don't think have you met either of them before?
I don't think so. Hi guys.
Hi, welcome.
Hello.
Except for 5 minutes ago, but hello.
Yeah.
It doesn't really count. And then
No
Mark,
one saw it, so.
this is Sarah Podzorski. Have you two
Count.
ever met before?
You really look
know.
familiar.
So you two work together at 8-4. I was trying to take a dorky dive into like trying to
Trained
find.
her up for you, Ben.
Yeah.
She cut her teeth.
That is true.
Like,
On the A4 Play podcast.
She was a mid-level Pokemon, and then grew while there to the giant. What type Pokemon would you say you are, Sarah?
Legendary.
Legendary Pokemon that.
It's like the legendary
she is
that
now.
evolves.
Of course, I don't even know why I asked.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find Sarah's like first episode of the 8-4 Play podcast so I could go back and listen to it. And like the best I could do is I just found one kind of like in the middle of your run, Sarah. But it is
It was the
fascinating.
Christmas one. It was the Christmas one.
I thought
I remember because they needed bodies, and everyone had like Christmas things to do, and they were like Sarah, you're available, like come fill in.
You were immediately, to be fair, you were good out of the gate, Sarah. You were a natural.
Oh,
And
thank you.
It does not surprise me in the least that this is what you're doing now. Who you're doing it with, I mean, okay, but
take what you
the
can
fact
get.
that you're doing this,
it is
absolutely not a surprise. Yes, you have sorely missed on the A4 Play podcast.
every remote
You
episode.
and JJ's dynamic was something special, I think.
Yeah, you guys got to get her back. Like every time you do a remote episode, I'm screaming just as a fan of the podcast. Like, why isn't I want to hear Sarah and Tina on the same podcast? I feel like they would lock in so quickly.
And when are you coming back to Japan? More importantly, when are you? We could do it live. When are you coming back to Japan?
God, I would love to. Currently, whenever I'm free from podcasting, working, and streaming.
New Patreon milestone.
New Patreon goal.
Yeah.
Dude, chubby
Hey.
acorn. Chubby Acorn actually wrote in on Patreon to say, with Mark on the show this week, we got a mini 8-4 play reunion with him and Sarah. As a longtime fan of 8-4 play games, Japanese games, and a more recent supporter of MinnMax, I would love to see a MinnMax Goes to Japan travelogue with Sarah reuniting with her old 8-4 folks and go to the old stomping grounds.
Me gesticulating for the people listening. Like, why aren't we doing this? Why is this not happening? Ben is going to be gone for a few months, and so while
he's handing over all the financials to us.
Ben's gonna be gone. Send one of the other main
company credit card
across the world.
Company credit card. You're all here next week. Let's do it.
There's a Nintendo Land.
Gotta spend money to make money. You know?
That's right. Genuinely, no promises. We have talked about it. Sarah and I have probably talked about it more than people think, and there was a slight hiccup, but we definitely want to do it as soon as possible. But that might be a little while. Is that the best way to put it, Sarah?
It's not up to me. If it was
It's
up to
rude
me,
to
I'd be
refer to
gone
your
already.
child as a hiccup.
No, not me. Just to be clear, I'm bowing out.
I'm glad you said it, 'cause that's what I was thinking.
No, I want Sarah
I was
to
going
go.
to clap there, but I didn't want to accidentally transition out to the
Yeah,
next. To the
that's
next
smart.
thing.
That's smart.
was
Well,
a
hey,
good one.
I realized like 10 minutes before this podcast, I was thinking about like connections for everybody, yada, yada, yada. And then I realized like, oh my God, having Jacob Geller and Mark McDonald on the same podcast. Jacob, do you know what game Mark helped write?
No.
Metal Gear Rising.
Really?
Oh, are you a fan? Yes. Yes.
I have made within the last year maybe one of the most visible pieces of Metal Gear Rising critique on the internet.
Big YouTube
Was
guy.
it a YouTube video?
If you're familiar with the video, why does Metal Gear Rising keep getting more popular?
Yes.
Which ends with the statement, and then you rip out his fucking heart about everything that Armstrong represents about the world writ large.
That's amazing. I did get that video recommended to me. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually went back recently to the script to find out who put in "Make America Great Again." Was it in there originally, or did the translator do it that way, or did I edit it that way? And I'm not going to spoil that here, Jacob. But let's do another video.
This is
We'll
a
do your
scoop. Yeah.
Do your next video. That'll be a nice tease for your next video. We can go in deep in that script. Yeah, that script was a ton of fun. I've talked about it before, but he went way off the Japanese at the encouragement of the team, and then they actually came back and redid the Japanese based on the English. And whole final Armstrong fight was we adjusted that a few times. There was a lot of Tyler Durden and George W. The younger Bush. There was like Neocon and Tyler Durden. Anyway, yeah, I could talk about that for forever, but I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite.
It is as good now as it has ever been. Genuinely.
Do you feel like that's your biggest claim to fame outside of Tetris Effect and Humanity, obviously, which we'll talk about? Do you feel like in the past things that
so
you
hard
worked
to
on,
choose, Ben.
I know, but if you had to, man, just one. Do you feel like that one comes up the most?
No, when I get stopped on the street here in Tokyo, usually it's for my EGM work. You know, usually they're fans of the Electronic Gaming Monthly, the 90s, early aughts Japanese magazine. But sometimes it's the One Up Show, you know, with that I was there early on, and yet other times, I don't know. What am I most proud of? Do you mean, or
I don't know. The thing that people bring up the most, like when they find out you work on it, they're like, "Oh, like what? Fire Emblem Awakening, right? Was a big
Fire Emblem
one.
Awakening, yeah. The games that I oversaw a lot of games at 8-4, but the games that I participated in the most, I'd say, are Fire Emblem Awakening, Metal Gear Rising, Dragon's Dogma. Yes, it's Weak Against Ice and Fire. Yes, that was some of my work. And then it's the Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter, of course. Although I can't take as much credit for Monster Hunter was like a perfect amalgamation of a bunch. I mean, all of those games had a lot of people working on them, translators and writers, but I had a heavier hand in the ones that I just mentioned. Monster Hunter was a lot of this guy Brian Gray kind of set the tone, and a lot of other great people, Crispin Boyer, who I used to work with at EGM, et cetera, et cetera. now that kind of like reset the tone around the time of Monster Hunter Tri, back when no one gave a shit about Monster Hunter. So kind of started to around that time, and then now with World, it's just kind of crazy to see what it's become. But some of my greatest hits, Ben.
Okay, cool. Thanks for running down that. That's weird. You just started launching it. No one even asked. Sarah, did you work with him directly a lot? Was it just the podcast? Like, what was the project that you overlapped the most with?
I remember I worked a lot with Mark when we were doing Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Right.
I think I remember him being in the office the most. And then when I came back in 2016, Mark was like transferring out to Enhance. And he was just kind of like part in the office, part out of the office. I got his desk spot.
Checked out, senioritis.
And I was like, I'm back, everybody. And Mark's like, oh, bye. And I'm like, oh, okay, bye. See you for the podcast.
And you're like, screw this. Mark's gone. I'm out of here too. And
yeah, it was Mark. It was Mark leaving. And then I was like,
you didn't stay too much longer after that.
Writing's on the wall. You get it. Well, hey, Mark, congratulations on Humanity, man. Okay, did it. I know you've been working on this thing for what, 5 years now?
Yes, 5, almost 6 years. A long time.
Jesus. Came out. Reviews are glowing. Like, I know it's a gross number, but what, 85% of Metacritic? Like, is it about where you expected, or what's your biggest surprise so far with the launch?
I'll be honest. Like, I usually feel like I have a pretty decent. So, like I mentioned before, I was a game critic or writer or whatever back in the day. So I feel like I usually have a decent Metacritic. We make like bets about Metacritic and stuff all the time on the A4 Play podcast, but this one I'm too close to it for too long. I really didn't know like if people would get it or not. We kind of had heard from some early reviewers, and some people asked for more codes, which is always a good sign. And I saw, the people making levels and things like that, which sometimes it has a level creator, but sometimes you don't have time for it. But if you're into it, like you might hope to see that. So I didn't want to get. I'm kind of cautiously pessimistic though, as a personality in general. And so I was kind of trying to temper my expectations, especially compared to the other games that we did on Enhanced. We've been very lucky so far, with Tetris Effect and Rez, both reviewed incredibly well. And so I'm just feeling really happy. I'm just happy people got it. It would be like, it'd be one thing if people had dings against it that were fair, and there are. I've seen some that I agree with, but overall, just the fact that people got it and got what we were going for and are enjoying it for what kind of, the way that we hoped people would view the game has been really gratifying, especially like I said, after 5 years or 6 years of working on something.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Full disclosure here. Humanity sponsored the last episode of Trivia Tower that we had. Thanks for the help.
So our MinnMax review that we paid for there,
right.
When is that? Because I didn't see that in our Metacritic. I'm counting on that to get us up a couple points.
Yeah, we'll post it on Patreon. It'll be a private thing for the $100 tier, but maybe Metacritic folks can find it back there. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But
$100, but we paid $1,500 for the review.
That's right. But just disclosure, there's that. But then also this Mark McDonald on the podcast. We wanted to do it after the GDC thing didn't quite work out. And also full disclosure, Jacob Geller played through this game before he even knew that the Trivia Tower sponsorship thing was happening. And Jacob Geller, what did you think of Humanity, the new puzzle game?
Well, I guess just to, get the ethics in line, I'll name all the things that I don't like about it first, just so everyone knows I'm not bought.
FCC, yes, compliance. Let's make sure we get those in.
No, the game rules. The easiest thing I can say is I 100% did it. I did all the levels. Wow. I got all the gold guys. Oh
my God. Wow.
And I don't really consider myself a puzzle gamer. I don't play a lot of strictly puzzle games, but there is just a combination of the visual novelty truly never gets old. I mean, just the hook of the game is there are a billion little guys on screen all at the same time, and like I never got bored of that. But also I found like the puzzles themselves I found really like approachable, you know, and they were like, I felt like they were more kind of conceptual puzzles than technical for the most part, that like it was kind of like, can you understand the concept that this level is going for? And once I got that, then you could generally complete it, versus like really finicky little, like, you know, you've got 99 pieces but you don't have the 100th piece right, and so you can't complete the puzzle. There weren't many of those, which is usually my holdup in things like this. So I just like the whole thing really worked for me.
It's weird to have a puzzle game that, like, if you just stop, you don't even have to stop, but if you just think about what's happening on the screen, it's funny. Like, how many funny, silly puzzle games are there that still technically work well? And just like that level of chaos where every once in a while it's like, where is this guy going? Just having those emotions in a puzzle game like this are so rare. Or even just the whole Goldie thing, right? So we should, Mark, do you have an easy pitch? Do you want to summarize what this game is? Just wham, bam, run through it.
Yeah, so action puzzle game where you are out to save all of mankind, you being an iridescent Shiba Inu. So we get a lot of comparisons to games like Choo Choo Rocket or Lemmings, but you're controlling this ever forward marching crowd of people via little commands that you lay on the ground as the dog. So you're running around the level actively in real time as a dog, but dropping down commands kind of like you might in a tower defense game, guiding those people, like turning, jumping, etc., over obstacles, through things, all to get to the goal, which is to exit the level. And then semi-optionally, kind of like stars in a Mario game, there are these Goldie giant people. They kind of look like Oscar statues that only activate and walk alongside once the people touch them. But getting them to the goal, you have to have a certain number of Goldie, again, like the stars in Mario, to progress past kind of gated checkpoints in the game. But in general, those are like an optional added bonus. So like you can solve the levels a little easier, but to solve it and clear all the Goldie is a more tough challenge. And then the other thing that you get from getting those Goldie is you unlock bonus awards, mostly cosmetics, but a few kind of game mechanics and other little bells and whistles.
Yeah,
the fun thing is that almost every, like, most people are entirely disposable in a way that is, again, very funny, where it's like you will inevitably like place a arrow going the wrong way and just look over and there will be like thousands of people plummeting off a cliff, you know, just like going. But the gold guys are not, you know, it's like you only have them, and so you have to kind of set up the level where in general you might be okay with, like, you know, thousands dying to get to your goal. But the gold guys actually have to get there in one, and so you have to make sure that everything's kind of functioning smoothly.
Is that how you think about things, Jacob? I'm never okay with thousands of people dying.
You know, messed up game.
Yeah. It must be some kind of serial killer. No, I mean, hopefully the game, I mean, that's one of the things about the game that it's, you know, it has like a kind of like a light little narrative that runs through it, but hopefully like there's a few points that are at least kind of poking at more like profound, you know, a little bit weird philosophical stuff maybe sometimes. But one of the things that I noticed in watching people play through it is how you kind of get deadened to the idea where at the start people are like, oh my god, one person fell off the edge, oh my god, and then later people are like, this is distracting. I'm just going to divert this giant crowd of people off a cliff so that I don't have to like think about them. So hopefully the game makes you notice and think about the kind of things that happen kind of naturally with them being little people. But yes, the game, I don't know if you checked your stats. The game does also keep track of how many people
Oh yeah,
you caused.
480,000 people died during my 100%
In
run
my
through.
completionist run of humanity,
That's right.
there were 480,000 deaths.
Worth it. It is weird how invested you get with the goalies. I found like even in the demo, it's just so fast, and I think part of it's the name. I don't know if I think of just Goldie the Gopher from the University of Minnesota, but it's like, God, immediately it's like you care so much about them, and it's so weird again in a puzzle game to have that feeling of like, okay, you're thinking, going through it, trying to logic your way through it, and then it's like, all right, we're picking up Goldie this run. It's like game faces everybody. Just to have like pockets of like intense pressure in a puzzle game is kind of a rare thing.
We wanted to have like the nice thing about the Goldie is, to be honest, speaking as the developer, it's a nice kind of, it's not a get out of jail free card, but it's a safety valve as far as difficulty and balancing and ramping up, right? So like you can leave it up to the player to a certain extent how much difficulty they want to add to the level, right? So are you a completionist? Oh no, I feel like I didn't really clear that level unless I got everything. Or if you're somebody that's just like, you know what, this level, I didn't like it, so I'm just going to clear it and go on to the next thing. And that's also part of the reason why every level has a solution video built into the game that shows you how to just bare minimum clear the level. In fact, it avoids the Goldie. It will, the video, they go out of their way to avoid the Goldie if they have to, just to leave that part up to you. And it's like an extra step, whatever. I'm sure it's all up on YouTube now already, whatever, but make it one little extra step that you have to go through if you want to kind of spoil that part for yourself.
Yeah, the presentation is phenomenal. It's so wild. Like, I mean, just the simple things of like when you complete a level, just like the big bass boost, which I know you're all about over there at Enhanced Games. But Jacob Geller, I'm curious, as a lore nerd, did this game grab you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I like about it, I'm writing about this for a thing that will come out in a little bit, but I compare it to, not in gameplay, but in feel to something like Katamari, where it's like it kind of there are these ideas that are very present in the game, but they're also so abstracted that you can almost make it about whatever you want, so it's like clearly the imagery is evocative enough that it gets you thinking about something, but it's like that something you can make it very literal. You can be like, this section about war is about war, or you can kind of like analogize it as far as you want, in this way that I like the tone that the game hits, where it is like, it is written in this kind of like funny philosophical way, but it's also never like, here's the thing the game's about. Like when you look at these people, think about this. It's more just this kind of like, we know that having 10,000 people on screen is like going to make you think about something, and that's kind of enough. You can take that in whatever direction you'd like to.
That's great to hear. I'm really happy to hear the comparison to Katamari, which is got to be in my top 20 of all time, but for a bunch of different reasons. One is that game was also born of a Japanese designer, not game designer, but like illustrator designer, right? Keita Takahashi, and this game is Yugo-san is the same way. This is kind of the first. He's done some kind of interactive game experiments before, but this is his first real game, and he was heavily invested in it. And I think we got a lot of comparisons, and internally early on saw it as a lot of like those early PS1, PS2 games, Katamari, like IQ, Devil Dice. There's a whole bunch of them, but that were a little different. They were very visually focused, but also a little bit different gameplay wise. And so we really leaned heavily into that. One of the things that my last 6 months has been it's been taken up with is the trailers that we made. We made these kind of live action love letter trailers to the early Japanese PS1, PS2 trailers, which if you haven't seen them, there's a YouTube video, an hour and a half, that has them all from PS1 launch to like PS3. They're literally 15 seconds long each, so it is just like bam, 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 bam. But they are amazing. And so, yeah, hearing that compares, we're always really happy to hear people be like, "Oh, this feels like something Japan studios have made," or like feels like something from like early the PlayStation Network or PS1, PS2 stuff.
Yeah.
Like we take that as like a high compliment.
And
I mean, I do feel like Enhance probably has, it's almost cheating, but like the best list of video game trailers. I mean, I think that like that first Tetris
Go slower. I'm writing this down. Let me find pencil and paper. I need to write this down.
Yeah, I'm kissing your ass here, but like the Tetris Effect trailer, like the announcement Tetris Effect trailer, I think is like one of the great video game trailers, just kind of period. But then this one also, just with like, I mean, the music of the game is so weird and interesting, and this whole kind of like digitized choir. And again, it is such a game of imagery that you're just able to like put shots of the game on screen, and it is what the game looks like while you're playing it. And just, be like, what is happening here? How can this be what the game is? And then it's very nice to play the game and be like, yeah, that is what the game is.
There's something weirdly soothing about it. I'm only a couple levels in, but one, like it jumps you in really smoothly. Like I like the way the tutorials are laid out, the way it kind of is unlocking mechanics, but like not mechanics you necessarily need out the gate. So it just, makes sense to kind of piecemeal those. But yeah, your mention of like the kind of choir sound, like this game is in a very lighthearted way, like very religious to me and like godly in its presentation. And I think it is a fun play on the idea of you being like a godlike figure as a player, because there's a lot of times games take that perspective. And this is one of them, even though you are the dog, because like just the amount of ways you can manipulate everything. But it's kind of presented so casually that it doesn't have necessarily, I mean, it can have the weight, like Jacob says, you can kind of impose whatever meaning you want to, but it kind of adds to the like silliness of it. The explanation is so convenient in these levels that it's self-aware, and that's what's kind of fun about it. I definitely do think that it does harken back to weird PlayStation. Like I saw this game and immediately thought of Echo Chrome, even though this is not a perspective game, and this is also much simpler to wrap your head around than Echo Chrome, which I liked Echo Chrome, but it was very hard to start playing that game. So I really like that aspect of it. There's something very soothing about it. And it's funny because you mentioned like, obviously everyone's playing Tears of the Kingdom, and it's a tough time to be like for any other game to get attention. But frankly, like with it being so quick to hit the levels, so satisfying to get the stuff. Like this is the first game where, I pulled over to like my boyfriend who loves puzzle games. I'm like, I think you need to play this. Like I think you'd really enjoy it. It's quick, it's simple. I think there's like 85 levels. Again, you could be, pro gamer Jacob and 100% it and spend I don't know how long it took you to do that, but it kind of just has a little bit of flexibility in that, and there's something just really nice about being, I think, in a small level space as well. Kind of reminiscent of my experience playing Captain Toad on like the Nintendo Switch, where it's like, okay, it's contained, but it's really satisfying to pull off.
It's another game. Yeah, Captain Toad is another game like we looked at a lot when making it, and yeah, your point about godlike feeling, like we noticed that as well, and try to play around with that in different ways, especially in VR. If you get a chance to play the game in VR, it's just, these little like teeming ants that you are in control of and doing your bidding, and it's triggering some weird, I don't know, entirely positive part of the lizard brain. But yeah, and something else we noticed is the some reason the soothing, satisfying aspect of it. That's why when you solve a level, it just sits there and starts rotating. And we noticed in user testing, a lot of people would just sit there and lean back and be like, "Oh yeah, look at what I have wrought." I did this, like this clockwork contraption thing that you made now work. And they would just kind of sit back and put the controller down, and we find out later because we would ask them what was going on there. But this is kind of like satisfying, smug kind of feeling that they had going on, and I think we tried to play that up then like as much as possible.
Yeah. The funniest thing about that is like I would do that too, right? Like because I think it's such a natural reaction. And I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for the guys to get this, especially before I had the fast forward feature too. So Like one time I did that like early on, it's like level 3 or something, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, these guys aren't coming out. They're stuck somewhere. And I had to go and like look and kind of reconfigure like what's the traffic jam that I created. And I think, you know, it's so funny too that you can just kind of end up having these pools of people stuck in places. Like early on, like I didn't like have people climb enough, but then I realized I left like a cluster of them behind. But again, you don't need to Jacob's point about the precision, like it's not like you need to get 100% of the people in that light to have complete the level. Like I had one where everyone's like 3 people are just spilling over on the side. And I'm like, it's good enough, you know. It checks the box. It gets it done.
Gotta break some eggs to make that humanity omelet.
Leo and I last year talked a lot about the VR game, The Last Clockwinder, and this hits some similar like pleasure centers of like you are not really like you're not solving the puzzle, you are giving directions to other people to solve a puzzle, and so then it's the kind of fantasy of full automation where like generally when you finish these levels, they're not just finished once, they will continue to be finished forever. You know, it's just like infinite people pouring out and infinite people pouring into the goal, which is just like it kind of feels more solid as a solution to have that rather than just like if me the dog had to push all the blocks and do all the things, I'd be like, great, I guess. But knowing that like they did it and will continue to do it is just this very satisfying feeling.
It's interesting. Early on, before the dog existed, we were struggling with the dev team was thinking about a lot. So should it be you just actively like, you know, tell the people, should it just be disembodied and you just are commanding the people? Should there be an in-game character that you're controlling that does it? And kind of what are the pluses and minuses of that? And for a time, the idea was going to be that you were a human, that like just some special different human somehow, one person that was like a leader guiding the other people. And it wasn't until we got the dog that felt like it clicked, that once we saw the dog, it was like, okay, everybody looked at each other, okay, yeah, that's the answer. I think back to one of Ben's earlier points is that it kind of, I think it could be mistaken, especially given some of our trailers and like the music and stuff, as this very serious kind of ponderous, like, what is life in the universe, like humanity, like an old, you know, perfume commercial or something, like really, really self-serious. And what we wanted to do with the trailers, and also just the fact that the existence of the dog in the game and that you're playing the dog that's controlling the people was kind of like a wink and like, hey, we're not taking ourselves too that seriously. Like, this is a game that's meant to be fun first and foremost. I felt like that was a very clear signal to that. And then to your point, Jacob, yeah, it felt good to actually abstract it one layer. Like besides the platforming and stuff that you get to add into the game and separating out where the people can go and where the dog can go, and sometimes they diverge and sometimes the dog has to jump in the people to get to certain places. The fact that added a lot of, you know, wrinkles to some of the mechanics, that was definitely a plus. But also just, yeah, that feeling that you weren't actively doing it, you were indirectly doing it one layer removed, seemed to add more to like strategy and thinking behind the game rather than making it like a more pure action game.
And now it's just like a Hail Mary for you. It's such a lucky thing. Like, okay, for when actually marketing the game, I feel like that dog is just, that's the derringer in your boot of like, okay, we know we can get people's attention. We'll have a cute dog in the commercial barking at the screen, put a VHS filter on top. Like, that's so much easier for something to grab onto for people watching like a state of play or whatever, you know?
So I was really worried. I mean, everybody was so supportive of that idea early on internally, but I was really nervous about it, probably the most nervous about it. I wondered if it was going to be too weird for people, if people would get it. It's kind of a couple layers to go through. It's like, the reason this is in VHS is because it's a parody of Japan only thing that hopefully you've seen on YouTube, and we kind of tried to reinforce it in a bunch of subtle and not so subtle ways. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was like, we saw the dog, and I was there for the filming, and we had the dog with the VR helmet on, and these like very obviously fake paws go up with the little PS5 controller. It was like, all right, if we get nothing else out of this whole thing except for the image of that dog wearing a VR helmet and fake controller in front of him, and you're going to be seeing a lot of that, trust me, in the future. Like, I'm going to beat that thing into the ground on Twitter.
The dog? Oh, God.
Instagram, yes. That dog it's already been beaten hard many times during filming
That's
the
your
commercial.
snippet, everyone.
But yes, it's all very on the up and up, PETA approved.
That's right.
I will say, they do say don't work with kids and dogs in filming. And even though our dog was lovely, I understand now why that is. It's very difficult.
That's a
You
nightmare.
can't sit them down and reason with them. They take copious breaks. They're very coddled. If I say so myself, it's like 5 minutes.
Damning
5
review of the
minutes
dog.
on, 15 minutes off. That's right. Back in the 20s when you could work a dog.
Never work in this industry again.
Back when dogs really worked. God damn it. No.
This game is
Noko.
it's a tough one to like
She's a treat.
to convey. Like talking about it, I want to say, hey, from the creators of Tetris Effect, but it's like, what? There's an asterisk on that because it's
Hey.
another creative director's idea, and that's more of a design company. And so the development team is the development team with Enhance then, or is it still another group?
So it's a amalgamation, similar to Tetris Effect, which was our collaboration with this developer, Monstars. This is a collaboration with THA, and so it's really intertwined. If you had to lay out, like everybody crossed over into everybody else's work, like any team will when they're working together. But in general, the high level ideas and mechanics and all of the visuals and all of the story came from THA, from the partner, and the level designs and game progression and everything that is kind of hard to explain. It's kind of all the like gamey side stuff, which is like, hey, when you clear a level, let's make it feel better. And what if there's like a shine? And when you get the things, what if it goes bing bing and it feels more satisfying that way? Not just those window dressings, definitely like also stuff about boss designs and pacing and just like everything. All of that came from the enhanced side. So it's like really a really close collaboration. It's really hard to like pick out particular things. Even the story, the story was all written by Yugo-san, but the English version had many different people touching it.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, it's on PlayStation, it's on Steam, playable in VR for PSVR 1 and 2 if you're interested in that. But
Optional VR.
yeah, and
It's
then
also the top tier, what's it called? A PlayStation catalog title, which I didn't know.
Oh,
what they
PlayStation
call
Plus
it.
Extra.
And then what's the top one called again? It's like
Premium.
Premium?
Oh, yes.
That sounds right.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Yeah, you can actually play it for free if you have those things. So, and
If
there
you
is
have
a big,
extra,
there's a big user-generated content side that people are making tons of really awesome levels already. Somebody made this Donkey Kong level I was playing yesterday. Is really you have to make, of course, Mario 1-1 and Donkey Kong are like the first levels that you expect. But somebody made a Metroidvania,
Ooh.
What?
which I hadn't thought of at all. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, you could totally do that, because you can set levels to where the mechanic is not, you're not granted it from the start. You could actually pick it up in the level. And so actually made it called Mini Metroidvania. Shout out to that level. If you're checking it out. Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
So that's been great already, because a lot of people are on there making those. That's the whole reason why we launched into that. A1, we wanted to have a big community of people making stuff. So, yeah,
That's sweet.
make cool people, please. Oh, stuff. Make cool
Please,
stuff.
yeah,
people,
come on,
please.
man. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. All
I'm
right.
sorry, kids.
That's humanity. Jacob Geller, also you've been playing a game called After Us.
Yeah, it's funny to go from two games that I am like red hot on to this game that I'm like, it's good, it's good.
Okay.
But I did finish it, and I did want to talk about it because I think it's interesting. So After Us is this game that has recently come out. It is gosh, who made this?
Piccolo's the developer, and then Private Division is the publisher.
Right, and it is kind of in purely mechanical terms, it is just a platformer. It's a pretty good feeling platformer. You have like an air dash, you have stuff, but it is really kind of, I would put it in the same category as like Little Nightmares, in that it's a game where the appeal is like there's a lot of visually really distinct and interesting level design, and you're kind of tiny in a big world.
Okay.
And so like these places that you're running around are all of these kind of like surreal nightmare versions of of like things that exist in the real world. And like that is both the coolest thing about the game and the kind of biggest ding against it, because the game is like, I am obviously, I like when games are political. I talk about, liking political messages and whatever in games all the time.
Metal Gear
This is
Rising,
the
we got
most
it.
like thuddingly obvious kind of like, it is like an after school special version of like environmentalism and consumerism, where like literally there is a level that you go to, and there is this voiceover that's like all of the humans in the game are called like the Devourers or something, and it's like, this is where the Devourers went to worship, and guess where you are? A shopping mall, baby. And it's just kind of, so it's like, and then going around the mall is like really visually cool, and there are like interesting things that you do, and there's like a slaughterhouse that you go to, and there's like the ocean, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's overfished. And so like there are all these things that are really fun to play, but it is truly so on the nose that it is like almost unbearable sometimes.
Okay.
So it's an interesting combination of things where I enjoyed playing the game enough that I rolled credits. I had a lot of fun with it, but it is funny for me to be like, okay, pull back the political stuff like a little, like I get it. Yeah, I'm on board.
Keep politics out of games just a little bit, just like halfway out of games.
Jacob Geller, that's your other pull clip.
Yeah, you got it. After Us, it said May 23rd, I think, for when it's coming out on Steam at least. I don't know if it's out other places now or whatever, but After Us is the name of that thing. Let's see. Hey, Jacob, do you know how this whole thing operates?
Millions of tiny people marching across the land to give MinnMax money.
That's how it works.
Wow.
This is how it's done, Mark McDonald. Patreon 101, baby. You go to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Find a tier that's right for you. If it's sustainable for you, then we are sustainable. So check it out, everybody. Are you ready to be on a real podcast here, Mark? Are you ready for this?
I don't think I am, actually. I'm looking at my background for people. You could tell that 4 of these 5 people do this for.
We have
I have the most like I'm like in Japanese prison, Japanese office.
He doesn't
prison
even
here
have
compared
LED
to,
lights.
Yeah, where are your
I feel
LED
like I need-
lights? What are you doing, man?
No, I need some lighting. I need some characters. I need like a plushie or 2. I'm looking around.
May I offer you the IKEA Calyx shelf? The What's Up Gamers of Furniture, as Jared Petty
I
once
have
said.
that too. It's
Might
a staple.
have-
We all have this.
Might have that exact same shelf in my in my actual apartment. Yeah, my office is a little sparse here, but
I get
have
it.
some stupid character.
You're fine. I will remind you, though, on the 8-4 Play podcast, I think when John Johannes was on, you said, quote, John, why
How
don't
you say that? Johannes.
Johannes, is that what it is?
Johannes. It's like the original Swedish.
I forget how to pronounce his name. But you said on that episode, quote, to John, go do some more little MinnMax level stuff.
I knew you would listen, and I think I referenced it. I knew you were listening.
Oh yeah. It hurt, man. It really hurt. Anyways, I was gonna say, you ready to be on a real podcast? Hey, guess who's supporting us this week? Stamps.com, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Check them out. Stamps.com. Janet
How did you
Garcia.
land that? I want some of that stamp money.
It's a big get.
hell?
Janet Garcia is the biggest fan of Stamps.com. I brought it up like, hey, I think they're going to be a sponsor. And Kelsey Luna and Janet Garcia fell out of their chair because they said, we use this every darn day. They say, hey, every part of the team matters for small businesses. We're looking for maximum efficiency with a small business like MinnMax and Kelsey Lewin's business, and Janet Garcia is shipping things left and right. So you can focus more on what's important with your business by just taking care of everything else with Stamps.com. It's like having a USPS and a UPS service right in your house. No lines, no traffic, no waiting. With Stamps.com, all you need is a computer and a printer. They even send you a free scale, so you'll have everything you need to get started. For 25 years, Stamps.com has been indispensable for over 1 million businesses. That's older than Jacob. So you can set your business up for success when you get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code MinnMax, 2 N's of course, for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, enter code MinnMax. There is a link in the description, everybody. You can check it out there. Also, thank you to HelloFresh for supporting MinnMax this week. Mark, you know when you're hungry and you want to feed the family, but you don't got much time?
Oh God, do I, Ben? Do I ever?
Well,
you're gonna find that out soon.
I
You're
know.
gonna find out what that's like very soon.
I'm going to be living solely off of HelloFresh meals at that point. Nothing but HelloFresh. It is delightful just to have a package of good portion ingredients waiting for you in your fridge. So check out HelloFresh. They want you to know that flavor is in full bloom at HelloFresh. Enjoy the taste of spring with chef-crafted recipes featuring ripe seasonal ingredients delivered right to your door. HelloFresh does more than just delicious dinners. Not only can you take your pick from 40 weekly recipes, you can choose from over 100 items to round out your order, from snacks and easy lunches to desserts and pantry necessities, as they put it. Everything arrives in one box on a delivery day that you get to choose. You can go to HelloFresh.com/MinnMax16 and use the code MinnMax16 for 16 free meals. You could feed a stadium with that. 16 free meals by going to HelloFresh.com/MinnMax16 using that promo code MinnMax16. They are America's #1 meal kit. Also, thank you to our friends at I Am 8-Bit. They want you to know that available right now at their store, you can get the full soundtrack to the Super Mario Brothers movie. You can get it on vinyl, you can get it on cassette, you can get a CD, you can get the 7-inch single that includes Peaches, Jack Black's song. Check them out. I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store. I assume you know I Am 8-Bit, Mark.
I'm familiar. Yeah.
Okay. Do you
Buy the PlayStation version of Res and soundtrack while you're there.
That's right. Yeah. Help support I'm 8-Bit. Check out their wonderful online store. You can use the promo code Mayflowers, no space, Mayflowers, for 10% off everything under $100. Help support them because they support MinnMax and support our community in a big way by shipping out a prize each and every week to whoever has the best question of the week. And frequently, they've shipped out the Res soundtrack. So we've talked about the Res soundtrack on this podcast quite a bit from that. This week.
Cool. They were an early sponsor for you guys, right? That's so cool to see that they've been... That these are real sponsors. How did you?
I know.
What's going on?
I don't
these are
know.
How do you get? I want some of these good sponsors. These are
I would
great.
love to see a Japanese-based podcast be sponsored by Stamps.com or HelloFresh. Let's just send this to Japan.
Hey, that's where our people, that's where our listeners live. I want some of that HelloFresh, sweet better. That's amazing. Good for you guys.
Hey, thanks.
I'm
honestly,
very impressed.
Yeah, I Am 8-Bit came out so early, and it's like, oh, they're the coolest around, and they just seem to get bigger and better. And now it's like, oh, we get to promote the Mario Brothers movie soundtrack, the biggest movie known to man.
They get huge stuff, man. They get They do really great work too.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and this week, whoever has the best question submitted over there on Patreon, they win the Mega Man X 30th Anniversary Classic Cartridge, the Legacy cartridge from I Am 8-Bit, which is pretty sweet. So let's ship that right to your house. So all you gotta do is support us on Patreon, submit a good question, we'll choose our favorite, and you get a prize. You can check out the link in the description for promo codes for all those ads. All right, ready for some community questions here, Mark?
Am I?
Okay, here we go. Zane Dukes wrote in. They said, Good whenever, CLCs. Hello, thank you. I'm loving Tears of the Kingdom, but it has highlighted a big pet peeve of mine. Why do I have a limited sprint that makes me go from slower to slow? Like, who plays Mario without holding down the run button all the time? Am I being impatient, or do video game characters move too slowly in general?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you
Like,
feel
why
it.
not just turn off the stamina? Why not just turn off the stamina in terms of dash?
Right.
Is kind of what he's getting at here.
Yeah, and then you could just have a shorter, quicker
Well,
dash.
I think,
dash.
I mean, at least in Tears of the Kingdom, it's like the whole game is how do I move faster than walking? You know, it's like, I feel like if you could sprint the whole time, then maybe you wouldn't care as much about like making a car or making a plane or like sledding down a hill. You know, it's like it is slow because there are a million ways to locomote that are like more fun to try and get to versus just sprinting.
So they want to make you feel.
Also, I'm still early on in the game, but I'm assuming there's, you know, bigger, faster enemies where it actually becomes a thing to run away from them, and you're using your stamina, which could be used on other things to get away from them and what have you. And so it's not that there's probably a lot of reasons some you might not notice as immediately about why that would, getting rid of that would take away some of the fun ultimately. But I do get the, like, watch anybody play Wind Waker, right? It's like, hup, 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 where Link is just being over and over again. And I do find myself already early on wanting that, like, all the other thing is like, wait, which one is the dash button again? That game has so many buttons necessarily.
Yeah.
But holy crap, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so, but I do find myself, I do sympathize with the wanting to go faster, but at the same time, I wonder, taking something like that away seems like it would have a lot of dominoes that would fall.
Yeah. I think like the last game that showed to me that felt like it was going a little too slow was like Hi-Fi Rush, like a game I really loved. But it's like, well, they're kind of stuck because they want the footsteps to be on the beat. So you can't really break from that unless you just up the tempo for every song in your game. But I remember even seeing gameplay the first time of that game, like, seems weirdly slow, and you get used to it, and everything else in that game amazes you.
Hi-Fi Rush is another one where it's like that dash that you can link 3 times if you're doing it in time with the beat is like, that's fun and a little bit challenging.
Right,
you know,
right.
it adds game to the non-game parts, where I feel like if you could just move fast, then like those kind of become nothing. You know, like the run from one place to another.
Yeah. James Pies writes in, they say, hey, this one is for Mark Gaming Jesus McDonald. Congratulations on the launch of humanity. Mini golf claps for having the confidence to release so soon after a certain other title that shall not be named. I've been a listener.
As if it was my choice. As if it was my choice.
I've been a listener of the A4 Play podcast for years now, and I can't wait for the Patreon launch, so maybe I can write in questions there instead of using a MinnMax middleman. So...
We've been Patreon launching since I was on the A4 Play
Very
podcast.
soon, yes. Well,
Any day now, it's coming.
What? Okay.
Once Sarah comes back, then we're going to launch the Patreon. That's going to be a tier.
Okay, this is like the Howard Stern show, Mark. Like full honesty. Just get used to it. Here we go. Like, what percentage in your heart of hearts wants to or thinks you will ever launch a Patreon? Is this 100% bit at this point? Because as a listener, I want to scream every time you talk about it.
Oh, it is 100%. We will do it. The boring, honest truth. It is. Honestly, it is. The boring, honest truth is that we don't want to do something half-assed. And I say this now. Now I'm really going to not be able to do it half-assed. But we wanted to have reasons for people to actually, before we started even putting out a tip jar, we wanted to have some reason to do it. We wanted to be able to promise something. And all we've really been able to promise now is that we, hell or high water, we come out every 2 weeks. But I'm so busy and John is so busy that to just stop and take a breath. He's taking this week off, by the way, just to play
Smart
Tears of the Kingdom. So like no sympathy at all for him. He has plenty of time. I'll say, let me revise that statement. I am busy. I am busy.
Wow.
Now, who knows? Now that we've launched this game, we were going to try to time it around a Resident Evil launch, and this was like 6 Resident Evil games ago. We were like, okay, next big Resident Evil game, they'll do the other half of the thing that the Resident Evil history that we did that was well received. Anyway, have faith, Ben. Have faith.
Dude.
It is coming. It might be a little anticlimactic if expectation has been building up this entire time, but want to at least have it a little bit thought through. And actually, we'll come to you and talk to you about it, and hopefully come back on this podcast and siphon off some of your listeners.
Take them, please. You want to put a steak dinner on You Won't Have That Patreon launch within 2 years?
Ooh, I like it. 2 years. Oh,
2 years.
wow. That's very generous. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that bet.
All right.
Absolutely.
Shake a hand. Here we go. Done deal.
It's 2 years from today, May 18th. Somebody's going to have to remind me about this.
I'll put it in my calendar.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Thank you for being on top of it.
She actually will, and that's the scary thing.
Yeah, I did it with Blessing on Kind of Funny for, he's like, ask me later if which is better, like GTA or Elden Ring or something. And like, I don't know, 6 months later, I asked him.
Okay.
Guess what? He didn't really have a new answer. I think he said, I think he did answer because I made him. I want to say he said, God, I don't remember. I think Elden Ring, but I don't remember.
He was arguing GTA 5 might be better than Elden Ring. He just needed time to think about it. Was that the idea?
I was like, what's better, GTA 5/online or Elden Ring? And he wanted to give it time because it's like it just came out. Like Elden Ring just came out.
Okay,
He wanted to bake a little bit more.
By the way, Mark, how does the release happen so close to Tears of the Kingdom? Are you just, what is forcing your hand there?
Well, and in this case, and I joke as forcing my hand. Of course, we agreed to it. We went into our eyes open. We knew this a long time ago. But as a PlayStation catalog title, they release at a certain time of the month. I don't know if it's always the third Tuesday or whatever it is. There's a certain cadence that's not like a big secret. People know about it, but that was the date. And it wasn't like this month, take it or leave it, but there's no time of the year, maybe you've noticed anymore, that there's not just like giant AAA stuff happening all the time. I mean, June, everybody seemed to be avoiding May for good reason, because of Zelda, with a few exceptions, and some things got pushed. But June again is just like bam, 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 bam. There's no slow summer months anymore. There's no slow start to the year anymore. It's just non-freaking stop. And those are just the titles you know about.
Right.
And you have all of the surprise, indies or titles that are grow or come out of nowhere. So yeah, I mean, all things considered, I'm happy to be the game that you play while you're taking breaks, Tears in the Kingdom. And we're on a different platform. So I remember when Elden Ring, speaking of Elden Ring, launched, any game came out within a month of that, just like giant crater that thing created in the gaming industry. I felt so bad for them because, it was on to the 3 really big platforms. And like, just God help you. I mean, there was no oxygen on Twitter or in the press or anywhere because we were all so infatuated. So so having
isolated different systems different. Alex Britt writes in, they say, hey MinnMax, I went ahead and broke down GQ's top 100 video games list by the year because I wanted to know what was the best year in gaming. If you don't know this list, it was like compiled by a bunch of people from around the industry. They polled and got their 10 games. And so in theory, this is the most objective list of the top 100 games ever made. Can you guess the top 3 years based on the number of games that made the list for the top 100 from GQ? What do you think are the best years in gaming here?
But I guess 98 was on there.
Interesting guess. Anybody else got one?
2007.
Great guess. That's number 2.
I was going to say 2008.
I thought 2008 might do all right, but 2007 is number 2 on the list. That has Mass Effect, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, Halo 3, Super Mario Galaxy, Portal, BioShock. So that's a biggie. There's one year that I always considered the holiest of holies.
Later or earlier?
It's got to be old then.
I don't know. What? New things can be holy,
2001?
Yes.
I don't know why.
Yep.
No.
2001 is number 1.
Okay.
Hang on. Oh, I've got this backwards. That's right. 2001 is number 3. That had Rez. There you go. Rez. GTA 3, Eco, Final Fantasy X, Silent Hill 2, Halo. Bananas year for 2001. But there's one year that was top of the heap here. That
20 was it 16 or whatever?
Janet, I thought 2017 maybe, but 2016 had Hitman, The Last Guardian, Firewatch, Persona 5, Inside, Hollow Knight, Dishonored 2, and Stardew Valley on that list.
Wow, those are the best games.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right.
I guess that because I feel like a lot of the people they asked were around my age. and we were like children for some of those earlier years.
We were like
and you get a lot of the
college.
hits. Well, yeah, you get a lot of the hits like from, like, oh, I played Yoshi's Island, but like that's like all I play. I played like 2 games on that console, so I figured it would skew a little bit more modern for that reason.
Yeah.
98, does 98 even register? I thought that was one of the ones that had Resident Evil 2, Metal Gear Solid, Ocarina of Time, Half-Life,
Yeah.
Grim Fandango. But I guess did he list like the top 10?
He just listed the top 3, but I mean that has to be close. I always thought like 200001 or 98 or 2007 have kind of
Message
been the
them
Hall
back
of
and be
Famers.
like, can you do more data for us?
Come
that we could do
on,
ourselves?
Alex, do it. Tan writes in. They say, hey, everybody, I first knew of Mark McDonald when he was at 1UP and on the Broken Pixels show with Sean Baby, Crispin Boyer, and others. Do you still keep in touch with the 1UP folks?
I do, yeah. Actually, Dan Shu, the old EIC of EGM who did a lot of 1UP stuff, was just here in Tokyo last week. So yeah, a lot of those people are still friends to this day, and the people who I don't keep in touch with regularly, I'll still see at like GDC or been industry events now for quite a while, but I would see back at like the E3s and those sorts of things.
Yeah. By the way, I don't want to, take you too much behind the scenes, everybody, but I'm a big 1UP fan, and it'd be fun to do some sort of reunion, but not everyone's on board. But then I hear certain people on the 8-4-Play podcast.
That was going to happen.
What's that?
That was going to happen. We were going to make that happen, Ben, if you remember.
I
and
remember.
There were a couple people on board. A couple people really dropped the ball there.
I don't want to point fingers. I think there was one person who super dropped the ball, but then maybe went on your podcast to talk about how many other podcasts they've been on recently. And it's like, what? Okay, so I guess it's game on, but apparently not.
No one will ever be able to figure out who that person is.
Who could say?
Didn't name them.
That's it. And then Tan asks, any favorite memories of working there? What was your favorite EGM 1UP era memory?
Oh my God. Boy. Like I will say something else I should mention is like a lot of those people are really high up in the industry now. And so a lot of them I see in like in official capacity now and then. But had a single favorite memory. Was so many. I guess this is less about the people. We got into the initial press conference, Japanese press conference, where they showed off the Wii the first time. They showed off the Miis and they showed off the games and things like that. And there was a press event happening in New York the next morning. Me and Sam Kennedy got in the Japan one. Apparently we weren't supposed to be there. And so we were like kind of hiding from people as we were setting up our camera and doing a bunch of stuff, but we were able to it's silly. I guess it's not silly now. Now it probably sounds even more impressive, but it was like a 12-hour, we got ahead of everybody else by like 12 hours on showing the first games and showing some of the first games, showing the UI, showing what Mii's were and like all of that kind of stuff. We stayed up all night, like transcribing from those little mini DV tapes. And yeah, anyway, I don't know why that's just a random memory. That's the first one that came to me, but that felt very satisfying and fun.
Just felt like you were beating
back
the
with a
system.
scoop. It was like, ooh, scoop, yay! You're like,
and then
that meant something back then. That meant something
That's
to
right.
me.
Fat bonuses all around for everybody. Tam Nago writes in and says, hey everyone, I just want to say thanks to Janet for recommending the Volari gaming pillow on one of their previous podcasts.
Not this again.
I got one because of this, and I've been using it to play Tears of the Kingdom.
It's a breastfeeding pillow.
It's shaped very much like a breastfeeding pillow.
We all made fun of Janet for saying gaming pillows are actually cool, and it turns out that at least Tam got a lot out of it, so way to go,
Hell
Janet.
yeah. Another one for the washed army. Like, embrace it. Let's go. I'm comfortable, and I do not care. And now I have a breastfeeding pillow ready to go if I so choose to venture into that point of my life. So who's laughing now?
Exactly. I am all about this. I am intrigued and going to look into this. We have several leftover breastfeeding pillows. I have 2 kids. One's 1 year old, and those things serve all kinds of purposes. All kinds of that sound a bit weirder than I meant it to say.
Yeah.
We're all friends here.
No, I'm deep into pillows and having your arms not holding up the controller, that can get
Right.
that can get very
Yeah.
tiring.
Yeah, but don't
I'm comfortable in Hyrule. I don't know about everybody else, you know?
we're all miserable, basically. We don't know what to do with our bodies. We just want like a pillow with like a cool LED baked into it and a racing stripe or whatever the hell to make us feel like real gamers.
It does not have an LED baked into it.
Okay. Let's see. Ricky Winterborn writes in and says, "Hey, Courts, I saw a VR app that lets you fill up a virtual arcade with any cabinets you want and wander around playing them. Do you think in the future virtually collecting video games is a viable way to scratch the itch without the need for space or exorbitant cost? Or does it defeat the purpose of collecting if it's not physical at all?"
No, man. I mean, it's cool. Look, I don't want to say it's not cool, but that's like, hey, does Spotify, like, can that replace collecting music? It's like, no, because someone else owns it. You know, like, the second that app goes down, all the stuff that you collected is in the basement of some company's, whatever, with all the other dead servers. Like, there's no collecting. If you just want to play those games, it seems like a great option, but it's not collecting.
Yeah, it's stuff like, it depends, I guess, what you want from collecting. Like, it seems like part of the charm for collecting is showing it off in some way. And I think it'd be tough to be like, you want to see my arcade collection? Okay, just come over to my house, then put on this headset, and don't forget to look to the right. There's a really cool thing hidden back there. It's like, it's not gonna be fun.
Also, too, like, if you want to do that, like, sure, why not? Like, if it's fun for you, sure. But I don't think it's viable in the sense that part of the mass appeal of having any collection is being inconvenienced. It's it being, I was talking a lot about this with, like, me picking up Tears of the Kingdom at GameStop, like the 9 p.m. PT release. And yeah, it's silly. I get people who don't want to do it because it's archaic and it's like, why do I want to stand in a line? Like, that's dumb. And it is. But, like, I have vinyl. Why? You know? Oh, I'm going to lie to you and tell you this. It sounds better than if I just had Tidal or something in good speaker. It probably doesn't, because it's dusty and it's hard to clean. It takes me like half an hour to listen to a half-hour album, and I love it. Like, there's something about the intimacy of inconvenience that is appealing for collecting really anything. And you don't really get that if you would trade it for a virtual experience, because it's not even about necessarily having the things. It's about the process, the picking, the choosing. There's so many things that draw people into collecting, and I think very few, if any, of those issues get scratched through a virtual VR kind of setup like that.
Yeah, but more power to you. Let's see. Adam writes in. They say, "Hey, Sarah, and only Sarah, what does a social media and marketing manager do exactly?" I mean, I think I understand.
Such an interesting question.
I understand the general concept of the job more or less, but I can't quite picture what a typical day actually looks like for you.
Wow, that's interesting. It sounds like, to me, it's pretty straightforward. It's in the title. It's social media and marketing. But a lot of it is just staring at various calendars and, like, furrowing my brow occasionally.
Okay.
But essentially what I do is I handle all marketing and all social media. So I get the content, I make the content, I edit the content, I schedule the content, and I make sure that it goes out on time correctly on, like, 3 different social media platforms, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I have to make sure that our game is exactly where the fans are, like putting it in a place where, like, if you're interested in this game, I got it. It's right there. Like, you want to follow along on TikTok? I got a TikTok for you. You prefer Twitter? I have a tweet for you. You like Instagram? I got Instagram for you. So just, like, being there all the time. So, like, people do not forget about your game.
And what's the name of the game so we don't forget about it?
I'm working on right now Fields of Mystria.
Okay.
Which is a little, like, retro farm sim. But, like, I've done this for, like, other games too.
Do you feel like with the farm sim, I feel like the juggernaut obviously is like, okay, we got to get the waifus out there. We got to get the people you can marry, assuming you can marry people in these games. Do you feel that pressure of, like, okay, whenever we send out the tweets of, like, hey, look how attractive this person that's made out of pixels in our game are, it's going to blow up?
This is specifically Fields of Mystria because our romanceables are so attractive, in my opinion.
Okay.
It is a little bit of, like, you throw them out there and then it's like a duck and cover hit the deck. Because, like, I barely see that tweet load and it's like thirsty. I have seen so many replies that are just an image of, like, a feral dog.
Holy Lord.
Honestly, like, it is insane. But, like, it's
Doing
great.
this now. Fields of
Mystria. M-I-S.
Yeah.
M-I-S-T-R-I-A. But, like, it's so great to be in this kind of position where, like, people love what you're making and people love what you're putting
The
out.
keeper of the thirst? Is that what you would say
Exactly.
your job is?
Yes, and the thing is like even with
Strangler.
our non-romanceables, like we like put out like Josephine, who's a married woman. They're like, can her husband fight? And you're like, whoa, like she is not up for grabs right now.
So if like your boss is ever judging you for like, hey, we got to get engagement up, at any point I can just drop another one of these
Yes.
things and they'll be like, whoa, Sarah, where do you come up with these words in this tweet? Incredible work. That seems good.
Characters look very like Fire Emblem inspired,
Yes.
but like plus 20% more. I don't think I could say
House,
on this
moving castle?
podcast, but 20% more sexy. Let's put it that
Yes.
way. I'll say.
Yeah, they are very
whoa,
like
whoa.
Sailor Moon inspired.
Now I
They're very
gotta
Sailor
know.
Moon inspired. Yeah, very shoujo, I would say. But like hot. But why not?
All right.
Yeah,
there it
no,
is.
absolutely, yeah.
Stephen
Into
Mintz.
that.
Stephen Mintz writes in and says, hey, everyone, please let Jacob Geller know that a student of mine cited Jacob's The Men Who Couldn't Stop Crying and Other Unbearable Realities in a research paper about Death of a Salesman. And he got an A. So congratulations, dude. You did it. Let's see. So if you weren't aware of this already, Jacob and MinnMax's audience extends to high schoolers. That's a weird thought, but there we go. That's why we got to keep it clean.
I talk to high school classes sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
You just like zoom in or something?
There is there's one that I've been. Do you know Matt Margini?
No.
He's a former like kill screen writer, has written like boss fight books and stuff. He has a high school class that I talk to sometimes, and they're cool as hell.
You know what?
Nice.
You want to hear the saddest thing in the world? My like video production teacher in high school was like super influential for making me fall in love with editing and Final Cut Pro and all that stuff. And so I sent him an email out of the blue a couple weeks ago. It was like, hey, so I want you to know, like, I really appreciate your class and really set me on this path. And here's like my journey in the career. And I didn't want to like fully invite myself back to the high school to like talk to the kids, but I was trying to like inch it that direction by
Fishing.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, how's your class going? What type of things are you learning recently? Zero response. I didn't even get an
that's
email back
unread.
from this dude.
Well, you know what is it, May? Emailing him that teacher in May, Ben. I mean, come on.
That's the problem?
Let him just run out the clock at this point. That's
Okay.
that's where
Point.
you're at for the May vibes.
Okay, smart.
It's not you, it's the calendar. But also don't try again, I guess.
No, you should just
lesson
show up at
learned.
the school.
I need to talk to
That's
these
what
kids.
Jacob does. When he says
Yeah.
he speaks to high school classes, he's just showing up to different
Teachers
Yeah,
and security
I
guards love
stand
when
just
random
outside the
strangers.
just outside the window, and he talks to the class.
Scoobu wrote in, of course, they say, there's been a surge of great remasters and remakes lately, and one game I was hoping might get a shiny makeover was Brutal Legend. Although I became sad when I realized that this is extremely unlikely due to the number of licensed music tracks in the game. Do you think Brutal Legend is stranded on PS3 and Xbox 360 forever? Technically, it's on Steam too, I guess, but...
I bet I could see a Double Fine has been really good about doing that, about taking their games back and just like up-resing it to release on something like an eternal platform like Steam or something like that. But I don't know. That was EA, right?
Yeah.
Who published that? So that probably makes it a lot trickier. Maybe if somebody that somebody knows, like what happened with Disney, ends up standing there, who cares about that kind of stuff? I could see it. I could see it happening.
Well, I thought it was interesting in the Psych Odyssey documentary. Sorry for bringing it up, everybody. But there's that moment where they talk about after the acquisition, they had to like dig through all the paperwork and stuff. And they said, like, we needed to actually, we thought we owned Brutal Legend fully, like, from EA at this point, but they're like, actually, we weren't quite sure. We needed to find the actual signatures that confirm that. So I guess that confirms that maybe EA isn't in the picture anymore, or maybe they couldn't find that paperwork and they still are. Like, who the hell knows?
Forgot about that, yeah.
It's a game that I've always wanted to go back to, but I do think that the same thing would happen to me trying to replay it as happened the first time, which is I would get 3 hours in and be like, this is neat, and then not play it anymore.
Yeah, I started it again a while ago because I bought my PS3 for that game. I was so excited for it. And I started it years ago again, and like it's one of those games like the first hour I was like, this is a Hall of Fame. This is so damn good. And then the RTS stuff starts. And I'm a big RTS defender, but it's just like, not here, not now, but genuinely what I want. My dream game. There's a bunch of them, but I would love for Double Fine to make like a pure RTS in the Brutal Legend world. Like make it a throwback, put 3 people on it, make it look like Warcraft 2. I don't care, but just to have like that theme in that world, but just actually make it feel like a simplified RTS with a mouse and keyboard. I think it'd be so cool.
When I first bought my PS3, I forgot about this until just now. I purchased it with 2 games. It was the first like console that I had ever bought myself. And I got Uncharted 2 and Brutal Legend. And then 2 days later, I returned Brutal Legend and I got Borderlands.
Okay.
But it was like I was really excited for that, and I picked it up and I was like, I don't think this is the next gen experience I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's tough. Let's see.
Great intro. That game has like an all-timer
Yep.
intro, like the very start of that game. So interesting, clever, creative, well done. But yeah.
Ari Torben writes in and says, hey, everybody, we all know the Nintendo DS had many great names whose subtitles started with the letters D and S. How many can you name?
You mean that ended with DS?
Not
like Deadly Silence.
Exactly.
Like,
Resident Evil, Deadly Silence. Yep, you got that one. What else can you remember?
Was Double Dash ported to the DS?
No, that's kind of a mess. Yeah. Castlevania, remember?
No.
No Sorrow.
Dawn of Sorrow, way to go. Okay. Ninja Gaiden.
Prompt me. I can get some. Ninja Gaiden. Death Slicer.
Devil
Death
Survivor?
Slicer. Oh, hang on. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor. You got that. Ninja Gaiden.
I'm cheating because I'm just looking at my shelf. I'm not going to know these otherwise.
Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword. I feel like that was one of those that like.
Oh.
I think one of them gave a really good review.
You didn't even notice. It was like, oh yeah, wait, that actually didn't like stick out like a sore thumb, and you're like, oh, they did it because of the DS thing, which is usually how it happened.
Why? You've probably named some games, Mark. Why did everybody do this? Is it just fun? Is it advantageous in any way?
Good question. No, I think just probably a couple games sold well early on that had done it, and so maybe people were like, hey, it's a thing. We should do the thing. I don't know. It makes no sense at all. Now that you put it that way, it's kind of like, yeah, wait, why the hell? You know, it's like Super Nintendo. A lot of those games had Super
I kind of get that. It makes it feel like a better game.
It's just an archaic thing, I guess, that was left over for the DS, but more subtly, because I didn't really notice that or perceive it until this exact moment.
Oh, really? Oh, fun.
Again, DS, by then, like we got like 4 games and they didn't have DS in them, so I didn't notice that this was a thing that people did.
There's, of course, Advance Wars Dual Strike, Lunar Dragon Song, Tenchu, Dark Secret, Mr. Driller, Drill Spirit, Bleach, Dark Souls. That's weird. Peggle, Dual Shot, Digimon Story, Dream Salon, Betty Boop's Double Shift, Bubble Bobble, Double Shot, Guilty Gear, Dust Strikers is the full lineup.
These all sound like questionably good games, so it feels like they were using like the DS as like an SEO situation.
It's unclear. I think Dream Salon, it might be all right, Sarah. We can play it for New Show Plus.
What was that Betty Boop game called?
Oh, Betty Boop Double Shift?
Betty Boop Double Shift is like something I'm going to say in like hospice.
Oh no, that's awful.
All right, Mark, you're a guest of honor. What do you like for question of the week? Which question stood out? Who's the coolest?
Oh boy, wow, they were that DES question. I mean, it was just last in my head.
Yeah.
So that kind of sticks out. Yeah, I don't want to choose any of the ones that were directed at me. So yeah, I never thought about that DS thing, and also the games you just for some reason I remember thinking a lot of like well-regarded big titles did that, but then you read the list and I guess I was mistaken.
A little bit, yeah. All right,
like one first-party title, only one Nintendo game, and maybe that was even an accident.
Could be. All right, Ari Torben, congratulations. You just won Mega Man X Legacy cartridge from I'm 8-Bit. I will reach out to you on Patreon after the podcast. Now it's time for a segment that we call Get a Load of This. There's a jingle playing you can't hear, Mark.
Nice.
You got something to share, Mark? Are you tight on time? How you doing?
Oh, I do. I don't know if this is appropriate or like works well with the format and what have you, but sure. Maybe I found this interesting. Maybe Sarah, you'll find this interesting. Anybody who thinks about social media content, God help you. But if you find yourself doing that sometimes, recently the NFL schedules were announced, right? So if you can think of a more boring thing of content to just get out there, hey, here's our here are the teams that our team will be playing and the dates that they will be playing, right? It's a very functional, dry, just bunch of information. But I was very impressed and struck by how few of the different teams handled. I don't know if you guys saw these. There was one the Chargers did. This is the second year they did an anime.
What?
Yeah, they did their.
Had a lot of Easter eggs in it. Like they referenced a lot of like popular anime, like Chainsaw Man.
Yes.
Wow.
The Dallas Lions were a little like Pochita, which was really cute.
It's a crazy amount of in-jokes both to anime fans and to NFL fans. So if you're only one or the other, you'd actually be really, really into this. It's incredibly clever, really, really well done, really funny. Another team, I think it was the Tennessee Titans, did a ban on the street thing where they showed the logo of the teams that they would be playing and asked people. It was basically like wrong answers only, who the team was that they were playing. And the joke is nobody knew any of them and what they say. It's like describing a Simpsons episode is not funny at all when I'm here doing it on a podcast, but just go see the tweet.
Love it.
And it's incredibly, incredibly well done. Really, really laugh out loud funny, whether you give a crap about football or not. And yeah, I thought that was the ultimate thing, which was, wow, okay, they made this appeal to a giant range of people, whether you care about football. Even if you care about football, do I care about the schedule of the Tennessee Titans or the Chargers? No, not at all. But here I am talking about it on a podcast to tens and hundreds of thousands of
That's right.
Dozens of people.
And that's what a social media marketing manager does, is they make gold out of that, baby.
That's right. Exactly. They spin that straw into gold.
That's right. Hey, get a load of this. Here's a weird quick thing. There's an episode of Fresh Air for all you dorks out there that I really enjoyed recently. I feel like half might get a load of this or just Terry Gross interviews. But there's an episode of Fresh Air where Henry Grabar, who wrote a book called Paved Paradise, and it's all about parking lots and how society has been... Ooh.
Just before this, I was listening to an episode of 99% Invisible that was also about this book.
Okay, great. So he said in this interview, quote, "One thing you should understand about airports is that parking revenue is often the largest single source of income for airports. I mean, more than the planes themselves. They're essentially giant, profitable parking garages with a sort of side hustle in aviation." Which I had never thought of before, but what a weird idea. So parking, everybody, that's where the money is. Sarah, you got something?
I do. Get a load of this. Nicolas Cage is going to be in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, what the hell? What
playing
is he?
himself.
What?
Did you say it's like it's his most important role or something? Where was the joke?
Yeah, his most important role.
I saw something recently on Nicolas Cage that I think explained a lot of the last 5 years of Nicolas Cage to me, which maybe everybody else already knew this, but he was on, I think it was 60 Minutes. He fell into like incredible, deep debt.
Yeah.
We all know this. Okay. Yeah. Everybody knew this except for me. So that explains a lot of his decision. Not that Dead by Daylight is not great, like AAA, star making power or anything like that of the sort. But, yeah, that explained a lot of his movie choices, I guess, to me, of the last 5 years.
I just can't imagine being approached and being like, I'm assuming he's a killer in Dead by Daylight and not a survivor, but like imagine being approached and being like, hey, do you want to be a killer in our video game? You put people on giant meat hooks.
Well, I mean,
that's a good question, though.
When you've sold, stop selling,
when I read that, it hasn't said it, I'm double checking. I assumed he was the killer. And then someone was like, is he a survivor? And I was like, why wouldn't he be a killer? Like, after Nick Cage, they should do Shia LaBeouf as a killer. Like,
you didn't get the song and everything?
Yeah, the cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
I have to
without
say,
that, don't even bother.
I find his character model very off-putting.
Because it's like,
Valley.
His face is not de-aged, but his hair is. And so it's like his beard is like perfectly dark in a way that I just like know is not the case.
He got some
It's
just
a
for
very
men's.
strange like version of Nick Cage in terms of era.
Yep, it's like modeled after old Nick Cage pushing his limit of trying to look like young Nick Cage. You're like, and snapshot there, and then that's what we're modeling.
I mean, he seems like he has like a lot of eyeliner on. Maybe it's just kind of the lighting of the trailer.
Because
How you know
he's a
he's
killer,
evil.
right? Like,
Right. Interesting. Jacob, you got one?
Yeah, sorry to not have a fun one, but
Man.
get a load of this. North Carolina passed a super restrictive abortion law today, and it sucks. So this is not MinnMax, this is just me, but if MinnMax people want to donate to the Carolina Abortion Fund, which I encourage them to, just DM me your receipt for that, and I'll match it for
Sweet.
I don't know, a couple $100. I don't know, but
Yay.
it's like, I don't know if anyone's been keeping up with this, but there's a woman who was voted in as a Democrat who just decided that she was switching parties like a couple
I saw
weeks ago, and then because of her, this new law is passed, and it's just like, what are we doing? Like, what a majority of people want abortion to be free and easily accessible, and instead we're doing this. So I don't know. Do what you can and give money if you don't want to do something more involved.
There we go. There's links below for everything there. Janet, you got one?
Yeah, get a load of this. Shifting gears dramatically.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's not. It's like totally like I totally agree with you. So I think it's an important thing to draw attention to, which is funny when I have my get a load of this, which is a few weeks ago, I had alluded to the fact that, how do I say this? Ben, you need to edit this out. That when people can show their dick, they'll show their dick. And I mentioned the Uno game and the article on it, and I forgot about it. I talked about that pillow instead. So my get a load of this is the 2016 explainer on Kotaku by none other than Patrick Klepek, oddly enough.
Wow.
It says that time Xbox 360's Uno game was flooded with dick pics, and yeah, it's basically just if you let people turn their camera on when they're playing Uno, they're gonna whip it out, and it's gonna happen pretty frequently. So if you're looking for more details on that weird era of gaming and why it's dangerous to give people a camera, or really, again, if you let anyone draw a dick somewhere, they're going, this is the first thing people did in Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Oh,
It's parts of the game. They're building like these big flaming dick machines, you know? So links below for all this stuff.
Fun.
We had a metric on to bring it back to
the levels. I'm sure
humanity.
Yeah.
It was TTD, time to dong. We were like, okay, how long is it going to take for people to do this, and how are we going to handle it and take it down? And
Didn't Leo make
whatever.
that exact? Or I think he said TTP in the
deepest dive for
on
Zelda.
Tears
Yeah,
of
we're
the
talking
Kingdom,
about.
which was instantaneous.
How long did it take, Mark, before the first dong level?
so knock on wood, as far as I know, we have not had one yet, and did not have
I'm
one.
booting up humanity right now.
Get to the community.
extremely
I don't know if
suspicious
that's
to
more
me.
a statement about how many people are playing the game, or if that's a statement about anything else. But also, I apologize for not saying apparently like get a load of this.
It was
Can we
offensive.
go back here?
That's okay.
I'm gonna do some
We'll edit
galley
it in
work.
post.
Get a load of this. Okay.
Perfect. Hey, get a load of this from the community in the Discord. There's a whole channel where people just share super interesting little tidbits. It's better than Twitter, everybody. Go check out that channel in the Discord. So Nick from Atlanta shared this tweet from Merriam-Webster. I have never heard of this. And the tweet said, hey, ding-dongs, let's have a chit-chat about ablaut reduplication. Does anybody know what this is?
No.
Merriam-Webster says, if you have 3 words, the order usually goes I-A-O, as in tic-tac-toe. If there are only 2 words, I is the first, and the second is either A or O, as in click-clack, King Kong. It seems to be a rule we all just know. They say it's the reason why these don't feel quite right. Hop hip, raff riff, spot spit, flop flip, zag zig, Ross Rick. Everything has to go in order of abluent reduplication. They say many brand names utilize our subconscious affinity for the rule to their advantage, like Kit Kat, Ziploc, TikTok, Yik Yak, Tic Tac, Ping Pong, TiVo. Abluent reduplication is so pervasive it even occurs in phrases like Big Bad Wolf, Live, Laugh, Love, Tick, Tick, Boom.
Oh, that count. Oh, I never thought of that as like a letter thing. I thought of it as I've heard the like size, color, like the,
Right.
big
That's what
orange
I thought you were
dog
doing
instead of
too.
orange big.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't know that thing.
Exactly.
Weird. But apparently this is
That's
a
There's a word
crazy.
for that
If you
too.
list like 30 adjectives, there's a right way and a wrong way to do them in English that you don't even realize. And this is the stuff, when you like, I'm sorry, anybody who has to learn English as a second language, because
Oh my
holy
God.
crap, it's filled with those kind of crazy ass things. But
What was the last Japanese epiphany you had with the language of like, what is this? I never knew this was a thing.
Here's this is not a recent one, but I'm curious if you knew this, Sarah. This is kind of a fun one. You know, skosh, like, oh, I just want a skosh more. Give me the skosh more cream cheese or whatever. That's Japanese. That's from skoshi.
Oh.
That was brought back after the war from, so skoshi is just a little bit. And yeah, it's like such a Midwestern slang thing that's not really even that well used.
I assumed it was like Yiddish or something. Yeah, I had no idea.
It just sounds like it came from somewhere else, but that actually came from after the war. So
that's sweet. All right, that's it, everybody, for this episode of the MinnMax Show. Thank you all for watching or listening. Mark McDonald, thanks for being here, for waking up early in Japan, man.
I just want to say thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for having me. Everything, I really appreciate your guys' thoughts about humanity. And also, I wanted to say very sincerely, Ben, congratulations to you. That's really super exciting. I'm really happy for you also that you get to take that time and do that. And as a dad, I'm going to give you like advice that you didn't ask for, because that's kind of that's what we do. But I heard you on another podcast talking about like, oh, I'm so excited for them to be talking and blah, 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 blah. And like, you're going to hear this a lot as well. But like, as soon as it goes to the next step, you're going to miss the last step. So you're going to miss it when, it's going to be great when he or she is walking. Have you said?
It's a baby boy.
If it's good boy. So when he is walking, it's going to be so great. Then you kind of miss when they were only crawling, and it's great when they're not going to be eating baby food anymore. It's such a pain in the ass. Then you miss whatever, like all of life, you miss it once it's gone. And so, as much as you can, favorite. I'm so glad that you get to take the time and you're prioritizing. That's really, really cool. So congratulations to you. And everybody else, if you ever need the Japan correspondent or somebody to fill in while Ben is gone, you guys have a deep bench, but happy to anybody from 4Play. We can do a special crossover episode or what have you.
Please do it.
Or again, company credit card. I'm out to Japan while Ben is away, and we can just do it in person. That offer stands.
Sweet. That sounds great. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon, especially folks at that $50 tier. Mark, they can choose any game under the sun and be declared the champion of it officially. And it's in the description for every MinnMax video and podcast. So, of course, Tokyo Game Life chose Kirby Tilt and Tumble. They're the champion of that.
Cute.
Zachary Pligge is the champion of Superman 64. TrampolineTales is the champion of Luck Be a Landlord, a game they made, which feels like cheating, but I guess that's fair. Patrick Polk is the champion of Rockstar Games Presents Table Tennis. And RabidLime, out of any game ever made, they chose to be declared the champion of Shower with Your Dad Simulator 2015, Do You Still Shower with Your Dad? So congratulations, RabidLime. No one will question you are the champion of that game now and forever. All right, that's it, everybody. Thanks again, Mark. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Be good, have fun. Let's go.
Bye.